PC Bierman. And some of my work is sort of deals in the inside-outside public space boundaries that Amir was talking about. So I'm just going to quickly move you through some of my previous projects, which led you up to my current project. And I'll finish up with a video at the end. As a matter of fact, if you can let me know when there's about 11 minutes left, that'd be perfect. Maybe even 10. All right. Okay, so how this all evolved is essentially, I'm an academic also, and I know enough about technology to be dangerous with AR. I have a web background, and I know enough about code to create some of these solutions, but I'm not a heavy coder. So really, I use technology to build on top of some philosophical, ideological ideas that I have. I've presented a number of papers in this sort of thread of the Battle of Los Angeles, where I examined the criminal treatment of street art versus illegal billboards in Los Angeles. It's about 11,000 billboards, so maybe 4,000 or so are what are called illegal billboards. They're unpermitted. They're thrown up overnight. And I've made the case, according to LA's penal codes, that those are actually a form of graffiti, but not treated as such because of the money that's involved. I argue for a repurposing of public, mostly urban space, currently dominated by commercial advertising, billboards, wall ads, bus stop ads, and so forth. Stage two was I use technology to build on top of that. Public space is the last bastion of unfiltered advertising. You can DVR through commercials, you can turn off the radio, your computer, and so forth. But when you have to walk in the city or take the train, you're bombarded with ads. I really see AR as a way to sort of filter out these ads, not get rid of commercial advertising, but at least provide an option, a user filter. So I use AR to problematize this top-down hierarchy of the traditional advertising model in public space. And I'm interested in democratizing the messaging system, primarily for those who can't afford traditionally to participate in it, who have been marginalized by the high cost of having a billboard in Hollywood. Okay, so one of my early projects was called Pirate Banker. It was a takeover of the Pirates of the Caribbean poster. It's a little hard to see, so I'll walk you through the steps. It was the Captain Barbossa poster, where Jeffrey Rush is Captain Barbossa. So when you hold your phone up to it, I use a Genio platform for this solution. I created a movie texture, and basically Jeffrey Rush's face just turned into Lloyd Blankfein, the CEO of Goldman Sachs. The second project was last year, was the AR ad takeover. It was a collaboration with a public ad campaign in New York City and a good friend of mine, Jordan Seiler. We worked with a street artist. We worked with the artists from street artists, art from street artists, whose work generally addressed advertising, social issues. We used works from Ron English, John Fechner, Poster Boy, Dr. D, and Ox. This is a Ron English piece over I think that's Cowboys and Aliens ad in Times Square. That's another Ron English piece that's actually on a subway ad. John Fechner is, I don't know if you know, but did a lot of interesting work in the 70s, actually. This is his famous My Ad is No Ad piece. Phone booth ads. Phone booth ads tend to work really, really well because they're just at eye level, right? This was actually over the Harry Potter ad at the time. This is last year, so Poster Boy did Return of Peck. I don't know if you remember Willow. All right, a little throwback. Dr. D, also, this is a phone booth ad. Ox, another phone booth ad, and we also did Ox at night. So a little bit different, working with daytime and nighttime triggers. So this leads me to Republic, my current project. While we're excited to showcase the work of street artists through a new virtual mural format, AR's ability to transcend current private property boundaries is at the heart of our endeavor. That's really what we're interested in philosophically. We'd like to reimagine an open visual commons that could permit everyone to participate in the messaging. We aim to alter the current expectations of a public media environment largely dictated by property ownership or the ability to pay for it or a willingness to break the law. 10 minutes? Our goals: create the first virtual mural program starting in New York City and LA, build an inventory of buildings in both cities, and we've got 2 in New York, 3 in Los Angeles, which we can then repurpose for other public media projects. Functionalities currently: virtual art, both in 2D projections, which it sort of has this video projection mapping appearance, but in AR, and 3D models. We can provide the artist with analytics, like viewership of their art, which hasn't existed, and architectural visions of the building in the past or the future. I'll show you an example of that. 3D animation, sound, and interactivity. All right, so our first participating artist is a great artist. His street art artist name is Momo. We chose him, and we're glad he decided to participate because his work generally is 2D, but he uses geometric shapes that have sort of a 3D quality to them. Here's another Momo piece that he's starting to get into installations, moving a little bit closer to 3D, but not, traditional 3D yet. Our first test case was the Pearl Paint building in Manhattan, where essentially we're turning the building into a giant QR code. There's no marker on the building. The building is the marker. Originally, we created these amazing 3D models, and so what you're seeing there is actually, you're not seeing the building, well, you are, but there's a 3D model of the building that you're seeing through the tablet. All right, so we created sort of a 3D surface that replicates the building. However, we decided that it's probably best just to overlay the art directly onto the building rather than creating a 3D surface and then putting the art on top of that, which got super heavy. So we had Momo create a concept sketch. So the idea is, hey, if you had this building, what would your art look like on the building? All right, if you could really just take your stuff, paint it, what would it look like? So it's an easy concept or a basic concept sketch. Then we converted that sketch to 3D, and the design augments the building using feature tracking. So we used QCar's feature tracking, and that is an actual shot of the phone with the design augmented onto the building as the building is the marker now. We did the Williamsburg Art and Design building in Brooklyn. Same process. All right, and then again, this is the actual design in 3D augmented onto the building. So street art applied in the virtual environment to the building. We also did the Bradbury in Los Angeles. At this time, we created this type of, I call it AR projection mapping. I don't know if that's the proper term, but that's what I'm using for now. Right? So the idea is that we took some of the shapes, projected it like light onto the 3D surface. So it's a form of projection mapping. And then we finally went with this design. So we created the front of the building in 3D, applied the design to the building. And then this is an actual photo of what the building looks like through the tablet. All right? So the idea is to be able to apply your art to the building in the virtual world. I decided to play with particle generators, and I just set one of the rooms on fire. So really, this is the limits of this are only your imagination. What do you want to do to the building? Deconstruct it, reconstruct it, reface it, put art on it, put your name on it, have spiders crawling up and down it, build the rooms on fire, what have you. There was an early example of this, but using geolocation rather than feature tracking. The first user cases using geolocation and 3D models, I think, was one of the first cases, was the Sarah app. All right, so you can see a 3D model of the building there set in geolocation. But we see, our interest is using feature tracking to reface the surface of the buildings. So not using geolocation. Geolocation can be a little bit flickery. I think, sort of the models tend to float in space. So we created the Bladeberry. The Bradbury was, if you're familiar with it, a lot of the interior scenes from Blade Runner were shot there. All right. So we reskinned it using a futuristic 3D model. All right. What's a possible future for this building? What could it look like in 100 years, or what did it look like 100 years ago? So that's, those are static, a bunch of static images, maybe not very interesting. Let me show you this in motion. How much time do I have? All right, perfect. Two parts, New Orchid, and the second part will be LA. Okay, so that's it. I'll wrap it up. We're just interested in how we can reappropriate and reimagine public space, allow people to participate for low cost or free would be excellent. And we're really sort of open to what that future looks like. We have an idea of we like street art and so forth, but really it's about all of our shared space and how we can reappropriate it in ways that I think we haven't even imagined yet. All right, so thank you for listening. I appreciate it, and that's all I have.